Timta, Hassa, Fi Paren Shil Pa Timta, Anuki Sayud Shil Ta, Maku Shil Atsakata Am, Shil Yamasi Nuwabianat, Wahaza Kalun Hassa Hag, Atnidmeya Arbedin Wahid. Greetings, I'm Plenipotentiary of Earth, Chief Nani Shabu El of the Atsakata Nation of Yamasee Moors, and this is NowFact number 241. This NowFact is brought to you all courtesy of U.S. President Donald J. Trump, and I'm so grateful. I give honors and appreciation for him doing what he just did. I'm going to show you all right now. As you all may be aware, he is reversing the civil rights. He signed an executive order and basically deleted all civil rights in the United States of America Corporation. I'm so grateful for that because it proves the point that Black has no standing at law. Now we're going to go to the birthright pertaining to the immigration issue. Here's what he had to say.
Look, birthright citizenship was, if you look back when this was passed and made, that was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States of America, everybody coming in and totally unqualified people with perhaps unqualified children. This wasn't meant for that. This was meant, when it was originally done, for the children of slaves. And that was a very good and noble thing to do, and I'm in favor of that 100%. But it wasn't meant for the entire world to occupy the United States.
So you don't see it requiring a contract?
So there you have it. And to confirm what he's saying, we go to his predecessor, Barack Hussein Obama, who on October 16, 2012, at 12:18 p.m. stated, Tom Joyner interviews President Barack Obama on his Tom Joyner Morning Show and greets him by saying it's our first Black president of the United States. President Obama replies, Tom, I don't look at myself as the first Black president because the word Black has no standing at law. Now, further legal proof of that.
The Dred Scott decision, which was handed down by the Supreme Court in 1857, is one of the most famous or infamous decisions in all of the history of the Supreme Court. And it arose out of some complicated issues, but what it basically had to do with was the power of Congress to prohibit slavery in the Western territories. Dred Scott had been brought as a slave into the territory of Wisconsin, where slavery had been barred by Congress. And later he sued for his freedom on the ground that he had been in a place where slavery had been abolished and therefore should be considered free. And this goes all the way up through various courts. And the Supreme Court eventually rules, no, Dred Scott's not free because two reasons. One, Congress does not have the right to prohibit slavery in the territories. And this basically declares the Republican Party unconstitutional. The Republican platform, Lincoln's platform, which is to prohibit slavery in the territories, the Supreme Court said you can't do that. Slavery has a right to go anywhere within the country in a territory, not a state. A state can abolish slavery. Illinois did. But the territories which belong to the whole country, slavery has a right to go there. The second principle put down by Chief Justice Taney in the Dred Scott decision was that Blacks cannot be citizens of the United States. In a sense, Dred Scott can't even sue because he's not an American. This is one of the best examples of this notion of blacks as aliens. Even though he's born here and everything, he is not an American. The American family, as Taney says, is for white people. And in the most famous sentence in that decision, he says, a black man has no rights which a white man is bound to respect. Now, he's not saying blacks can be killed with impunity. What he's saying is, legally speaking, they are not part of the body politic. They are not part of the we the people that created the Constitution, and therefore they're just outside of the system. So they don't have any rights under the Constitution because the Constitution is for white people.
And we'll stop there and continue on. In darkness of that, what has also happened behind the scenes with all the trade embargoes, the tariffs that the U.S. is now implementing on the country corporation of Canada, we have another issue that has been overlooked. They're not talking about it. And this issue is the fact that the UN has declared 2024, they did a resolution to declare 2024 to 2035 the second international decade for people of African descent. And we've been waiting for this. I didn't get any emails. However, it came up, we found it. And so now I'm putting this here for you to see. This is the link here, digitallibrary.un. So you can pause this, zoom in, and type it up, and it'll bring you right to the actual resolution, which I have pulled up here. So this is dated December 23rd, 2 days before Xmas, resolution adopted by the General Assembly on the 17th of December. 79-193, Proclamation of the Second International Decade for People of African Descent. This was the 69th session of the United Nations. So they have declared that the UN International Decade for People of African Descent, they're doing a second one. And so I'm just picking this one out here. Request the continued allocation of predictable funding from the regular budget of the United Nations for the effective and efficient implementation of the program of activities and ongoing activities under the International Decade contained in Resolution 69-16 and invites member states and other donors to provide extra budgetary resources for this purpose. What is the purpose? Recognition, justice, and development. This is the second International Decade for People of African Descent. Renews the call for recognition, justice, and development. Now, one of the issues is people who are of African descent can no longer call themselves Black in 2025, period. Can't do that because Black is not recognized internationally. When we type in the definition of Black has no standing at law, you'll see why. We'll get to that in a second. Definitions for new race and ethnicity categories. This is by the U.S. Department of Education. White is defined as a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Black is defined as a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa, and there are none. So Blacks and African Americans don't exist. American Indian or Alaska Native is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community attachment. What I want to do while I'm recording this, so we have this here as evidence, I'm going to type in America original definition. This is from 1828, America 1828 definition from Webster's. American, a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. So African Americans are actually Americans. They're white and they're indigenous, white autochthones. And what they need to do is they have to change their contracts, and they can no longer identify with that. Why? Because of this report showing that the median wealth of Black Americans will fall to 0 by 2053. So all the people who were under affirmative action have the potential to be fired. All the people who were using civil rights as a remedy in law courts, that's all gone. They can't use it because the Institute for Policy Studies and Prosperity Now have already done a report stating the median wealth for Black Americans will fall to 0 by 2053. If current trends continue, and Latino Americans who are also experiencing a sustained downward wealth side will hit 0 about 2 decades later. So this brings us to, this is why this remedy here is so important. You can no longer identify being dark skinned with the word black. It must be white, carbon, Nubian, or dark. And this color here must be associated with black because that's what it means. Black means what? Pale. How do I know this? When we go to Old English, black is an adjective, which means bright, shining, glittering, flashing, pale, pallid, wan. That is what this baby is to this mother. What President Trump is doing, pale supremacy, because they're originally from Pleiades, Aldebaran, and Europa. And the note, the Temahu, which is what we call them in ancient Tamaray, cannot find peace on earth. Ta Ardud Gi Tamaray Atlan Tiamat Zurokaya, for they are the sons of Canaan, and Azazel made his home originally on Titan, the planet of Saturn, for he is not of this planet, an extraterrestrial. So it is important now, no longer can you use the word black or African American. So the Pan-Africanists like Umar Johnson, who went and got his nationality in Ghana, he's already working on his escape route. You have Cornel West, you have Benjamin Crump, Malik Shabazz, all the Pan-Africanists and the pro-black. You're talking nonsense. There's no remedy for you anymore being black. It is a slave brand, and the president just proved that. Black has no standing at law. That gets you over $1 billion. So the remedy for this, with what the president has done, you have to get white and you have to come through me. There is no other remedy. One out here, give you none of that. You have to get white and you have to come through me. There is no other remedy. I've challenged all the black intellectuals out there and they have all stayed silent. They have no plan, none whatsoever. They have no remedy. They have no solution. They have no framework, nothing. This is what you have to do, is to get white, and you have the right to self-identify. So come on my webinar. I have open Q&As as well. Get in contact with us. You can call 587-712-0639, or you can call me direct at 587-712-0639, or you can call 587-501-7262. It's over for black people. You're going to get put back into slavery if you want to stay black, and that's where you will stay. Now you have the option to be white and be free, and you can be, and use the Constitution, but you can't use the Constitution being a black person. What the president did, Trump did, proved my point. So Benjamin Crump and his black chasing and Al Sharpton and the rest of the civil rights crew, that's it. They're out of work. Get on my webinar and get white. White is right, and you have the right to be white. Kashikador, kashikador, kashikador. White power, white power, white power.